I'm not bothered whether she's disabled or not.
Don't you dare shout at her!
Don't tell me what to do. If I tell her to get out, she gets out.
No, she won't. Can you sort him out? You don't really talk to her like that. Who the hell are you, old tramp?
I tell you, I hope somebody sits there, because I don't want to sit next to your sexy face. Your ugly face.
King.
You want to say it another seat?
Yeah. Put her to another seat. It's only polite. I can't get in my seat. I'll tell you this. If you don't go to another seat, I'll push you to another seat. Don't talk to me in a f***ing foreign language, you stupid ugly cow.
Mate, you stop.
I will carry on as long as I can with this ugly black.
Hey. Your voice down.
You have to move.
Stop. Excuse me, chill. You're acting super rude, okay? You have to calm down.
Or throw him off the flight. Throw him off the flight.
We have
Get
to
rid of
talk with
him.
Supervisor, okay? I'm going to talk with my supervisor, okay? So maybe you can.
I'm all right now, she's gone.
Okay, perfect. But maybe you
But
cannot
she has
stay.
to get out
Maybe you
so that
cannot
we
stay
can
in
get
the
in.
aircraft, okay? Because you're having a behavior we cannot stand. So I'm going to talk with my supervisor, okay?
Okay, I'm all right.
He came in, he looked up onto the board and C24. So he said to me, "Can you get up and let me come in?" So I said, "In a minute." He said to me, "When I say get up, I mean you are to get up." So I did get up. And when I get up, he pointed his hand in my face and said, "I say you are to get up. When I say get up, I get up, get up." So I said to him, "Don't point your hand in my face." He said, "I do what I want to do." He went back, he went to his seat, and he turned and said, "I'm not going to sit in with this ugly black bastard. Get him away from me." I feel very low. Because he pay his fare to go on holiday, I'm paying mine. So why would he abuse me for that? Choose the color of my skin. I feel really, really depressed about it. I go to my bed and said, "What have I done? I haven't done anything to attack me because of the color of my skin. I was abused like that." I don't know when I'm going to get over it, because every time I remember, I cry.
Oh, don't worry. It was none of your fault. This wasn't your fault. We just want an open apology from Ryanair, or some apology from Ryanair. You know, I don't even know the way forward from this now. It's just, I can't even watch the video.
It made me feel really angry.
Watching it back, horrible.
You see, why be treated because of the color of my skin? That's how I look on it.
A lot of my subscribers have wanted me to speak on this particular story right here. I had a few people send me emails. I had people leave comments and, messages and everything, wanted me to talk about this. And I actually found out about this morning when I was watching another YouTuber who I'm subscribed to speak on this briefly. And let me tell you right now that this is absolutely disgusting, disturbing, but of course it's not shocking. Everything you saw in this video literally just screamed racist, despicable, and just straight up ignorance. Now, basically what happened, what you can see on the clip, it pretty much speaks for itself, is you had this woman who's 77 years old, and her name is Delcy Gale, and she was on a flight. She was getting ready to go somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where she was headed, and she was seated separately from her daughter, and her daughter was the woman that you heard in the beginning of the video coming to the defense of her mother. Sometimes on planes that happens depending on how the booking is and the seating arrangements are. And she was seated not even directly next to this individual, but there was a space in between her. But apparently that was a little too close for comfort, or should I say discomfort, for him. and he just went off on a tangent, just calling her all kinds of obscenities, calling her ugly. He called her a bitch. He called her a fucking cow. I mean, he called her everything but a child of God on this plane. And what makes this even more so disturbing is the fact that the plane, instead of the airline, instead of them removing the guy from the plane like they should have, they actually, first off, they dragged their ass getting and trying to defuse the situation. But it was two things I noticed that they did. When the daughter came to the defense of her mother, like she should have, they were quick to try to shoot her or push her away from trying to be in defense of her mother. Like, before you know it, she was out of the frame of the camera of whoever was recording, and they still let that guy sit there and go in on her mother the way that she did. That white guy that was sitting behind him had to come in and say, like, this isn't cool, and try to, like, get him to stop saying what he was saying and everything of that nature, and that still didn't help. They did not remove him from the plane, but you know what they ended up doing? They ended up seating her into, putting her into another seat. She said, you know what? Is there a way that I can sit next to my daughter? I would just like to sit next to my daughter because this guy is making me very uncomfortable. He was very, very, very upset that he had to even be in that close proximity with another black woman. And he said something about he didn't like the way that she talked. And I was like, what was it about the way that she talked? I mean, she spoke with the same kind of accent that he had. Now, notice, if you never noticed this, a lot of black people who may be living in other parts of the world outside of the States, even if they speak in another accent tone, another dialect, they most likely come from some kind of place that is predominantly black. I looked it up. This woman comes from or has Jamaican ancestry. She's of Jamaican descent. So she was probably speaking, with a British accent, but with a mix of probably patois. And if you look and listen to the video close enough, he was that upset that she had the nerve to speak in her native tongue. Now, doesn't that remind you of the incident most recently with the Somali woman who was speaking in another language and they got upset because she spoke in another tone? And another incident that I had spoke on, I believe it was last year, where another woman who was also of Somali descent, and she was with her family speaking in another language, and this white woman had the nerve to get upset and take her nosy fat ass over there and get upset because she wasn't speaking the king's English, and chucked a beer mug at her and damn near cracked her skull. So it's like they get so upset when we are speaking in a tone that is ours when we are around them that they get so pissed at that. Like, that's one of the reasons why their ancestors had to take away our language or take away our history, because they wanted us to adapt to them, but not entirely too much. That's another reason why they don't like us learning our history. That's why when it comes to this piss poor education system, if you want to call it that, they teach a bunch of lies. So it's like they don't want you to know your own history, but they want you to teach you your history from their standpoint, which is very, I guess you can say, clustered. But they'll expect you to learn theirs in every inch of it too, and then try to apply it to the real world. That's not how it works. But I do feel for this this woman. It's really upsetting to see this woman who is 77 years old, and she's probably lived and seen quite a few things. And who knows? And another thing, I was gonna come at this at a different angle, but then I said to myself, you'll be surprised by how many people who are her age and who is black, who probably never experienced true racism like that ever in their life. And that's probably why all of this caught her off guard. A lot of people would brush it off and say she's 77 years old. How could she have not ever experienced racism in her life? Who's to say that she's like, some people, depending on where they are in the world, have never experienced racism before until much later in life. They've probably heard stories, but they've never actually dealt with it personally. So maybe this is her first brush with real actual racism. And to my knowledge, from what I've heard, I don't know if anything even happened to the guy, and I won't be surprised if nothing did happen to him because of the way they handled it. And as far as that airline goes, that Ryanair airline, which I've never heard of before, and it sounds like it's a airline that's based out of of wherever they were flying out of, I'd say the people over there who are black, they boycott the hell out of that airline because they could have dealt with this a whole lot better. Remember all the airline incidents that was going on over here with United and I think Delta and a few other airlines, and how a lot of people were doing all kinds of stuff and they were suing the airlines and getting paid and whatnot. I'd say that woman not only sues that guy, but she also sues the airline. Line them pockets, mainly because they did not handle this the way they should have. They should have thrown that man off the plane, and they should have reimbursed her with something, because that was a straight up disturbance, and not only to her but to the other passengers on the flight, because that disturbance right there held the flight from moving. But they should have kicked him off of the flight point blank, period. If they were to handle this the way that they should have, then this would not have happened. But they let this man go on a tirade for damn near 3 minutes, almost 4 minutes. And they pushed the daughter out of the way and then have the mother move, but let him stay in the same seat. Someone had wrote in the comments of one of the videos that I saw about this, they said, I wonder if he has a relationship with this airline, which is why they didn't touch him. I wouldn't be surprised in the least bit. But then again, at the end of the day, this is a palm-colored Neander thug, because that's exactly what he was acting like, an old-ass Pepperidge Farm-looking Quaker Oats man, doppelganger thug, who felt the need to come at this lady. And he didn't care that this woman was disabled. And if you look at this woman right here, she's far from ugly. She's far from looking like a cow. Now him, on the other hand, he looked like he dropped in a vat of, I don't know, like the most raw sewage that you could find in the world. And that's what came out of it. Not only does this man is ugly on the outside, but he has an internal hideousness to him that is just, for him, unbothered. And he doesn't care. This was a straight up racist tirade and rant that this man went on for no good goddamn reason other than the fact he did not like the fact that a black woman was sitting that close to him. That's all I really have to say about this right now. Y'all let me know what you think down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you in the next one.